Now, for more on the story, we are now being joined by Shekhar Dutt. He is the former Defence Secretary of India. Mr. Dutt, thank you so much for joining us. A tragic piece of news breaking at this hour, the death of General Bipin Rawat and his wife in this unfortunate accident. What more can you tell us? As we understand, tributes are pouring in for his illustrious career and the legacy that he leaves behind.
It's really a fortunate event for India. And one would have never expected this kind of an untimely demise of a gallant soldier, of a soldier who had ideas, of a soldier who had impressions of how India should be, Indian armed forces should be in the 21st century, third decade. And he was going about with it with precision and a tremendous amount of zeal. And so this reform and the transformation, which was the main task of General Bipin Rawat, who was our first CDS of this country.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very tragic event. And I place my condolences, and I just don't know how will the family members deal with it, because it's so tragic and unexpected.
Right, sir. It is a sad day for India indeed. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the interactions or memories that you have of General Rawat, his prolific career, his many achievements and awards that he has to his names? He was, of course, India's first Chief of Defence Staff.
He was India's first Chief of Defence Staff, and as you know, the Chief of Defence Staff's position was earlier suggested at the Kargil Review Committee, and India went into a very good spell of reforms when the Chief of Defence Staff in the shape of General Bipin Rawat was appointed. And we were sort of negotiating pillar after pillar, and the armed forces were being modernized in terms of organization and in terms of its deployment, and the idea of theatre command had been mooted. And he was inch by inch, brick by brick, he was sort of formulating that. One tremendous impression that he has been giving, and I have noticed it right from the beginning, is a very pleasant person, very pleasant, and a person with a great deal of humility. And how he has, over time, he has managed to take other people's confidence. So when this in this process of transformation, he's taking the team with him, and I think it was one of the biggest boon of a leader, of a description of a leader, because a leader has to form a team and keep the team with him.
Right.
And he was doing it. It was a wonderful display of leadership, which and as an armed forces officer, he has displayed. And India is eternally grateful for that.
Right, absolutely. Sir, just to advise our viewers and tell them a little bit more about the legacy and the illustrious career that General Bipin Rawat leaves behind, do you have any particular memories or interactions with him that stand out for you?
Some, I went and we were discussing about the different ways of training, and he was suggesting some very interesting methods by which the trainer and the trainer working together, and for making the training program, in fact, so interesting that that both receive equal pleasure. And similarly, I found that he was a learner. And in fact, we were discussing about the first steps of Theatre Command, and how there was this idea of the American Theatre Commands. But what he was much more sure was that the Theatre Command should be of India and Indian Theatre Command. And the difference is certainly quite clear. And he wanted India to evolve its own pattern. And I think he was, in a way, he was quietly doing the right kind of activities. So India was moving on to a transformation very definitively, but determinedly.
Absolutely. You mentioned that he was quite a humble man, very pleasant, and at the same time he was in charge of commanding quite a challenging role, and that was integrating the three services, that is the Army, the Navy and the Air Force, as India's first CDS. So tell us a bit more about his qualities and how he met all those challenges and rose within the ranks.
One thing which was quite well displayed was that he let the other person speak. And so he wouldn't start sort of saying what he wants. And he would let the other person speak and hear that, and then slowly put in his own way that, don't you think it could be this way? Or don't you think that if we do it this way, it might have a more lasting acceptance? And things like that. So I like that idea, because it shows a tremendous amount of maturity and the way you are actually thinking of, leaving a final stamp, which he did.
Right. Now, sir, just talking about the way forward, even as the nation expresses shock and sadness at the demise of General Rawat, there are plenty of questions being raised about the inquiry which is going to be launched to probe the cause of this accident as well as the helicopter in question. Is there any clarity that you can provide our viewers on that aspect? We know that a high-level meeting is underway led by the Indian Prime Minister.
No, I think they're doing it in a very, very organized manner. And it will be very professionally done, and especially the Air Force is all keyed up for taking up, and leaving no stones unturned. And I've done this many times, going to Coonoor by Embraer from Delhi, and then going to Staff College by helicopter, completing a lecture or discussions at the Staff College, coming back. Sometimes the weather packed, and I had to come by road to Coimbatore, and the plane was shifted from Coonoor to Coimbatore, and so that I can come back to Delhi. Now, helicopters are very safe, they're extremely good, and the helicopter pilots of both the Air Force as well as the Army are extremely good. And our track record in lesser, in fact, in flight accidents is tremendous. It's really remarkable how our Air Force operates, or even the Army Aviation Wing operates. It's a great tragedy, and I'm sure that all aspects will be sort of looked into by the inquiry members and the commission. But it's a huge sort of loss to India.